Hello, friends, and welcome to the Marble and Sand Podcast, a podcast for health and wellness with a focus on vegan lifestyles and vegan eating. This is episode 4 of the Marble and Sand Podcast, and I'd like to talk about weight management and also my feelings on the guilt and insecurities when it comes to weight. Growing up, I think it started around 6 or 7 years of age. I was becoming taller, I was becoming more big-boned, as they say, and I was becoming pretty insecure with my body and how it looked. I think that those insecurities made me sort of turn to food as a sense of happiness and joy and just overall relief for how I was feeling. Back in the 90s, they had all the food commercials, like for all the cereals, like Lucky Charms and Apple Jacks, and especially on Saturday mornings for the TV shows, it would be commercials for all sorts of foods, for Mrs. Butterworth, pancake syrups, and all these things. Not to mention, we had so many places that we went to as children, and the main focus was food. So we had McDonald's, and McDonald's had the Play Place. And then we also had Chuck E. Cheese. Well, Chuck E. Cheese still exists, but I'm not sure how popular it is with kids. And that's a pizza place. Even though you weren't really going to Chuck E. Cheese for the food per se, you're going to play games and to win prizes. That was one of the aspects of it, was getting the pizza. So just throughout my preteen years and young adolescence, I just really saw food as a source of happiness, just connecting it to happy memories. With your family, you have cookouts, and then that revolves around food. Or you have the barbecues, and you have birthday parties, and you have Christmas, and you have Thanksgiving, and you have all these days that just revolve around, well, what are you going to be eating? What is everybody going to be eating? What's the food that's going to be there? So I think that's what made me pretty depressed in grade school, was just my weight and how it was. All my happy memories revolved around food. I can think back to when I was 10 years old, and every payday when my mom got paid, we would go to Pizza Hut, and I would get pizza and hot wings. Or we would go to Beggar's Pizza, which is a local pizza place in Chicago, mainly on the south side, in the south suburbs. So that was a happy moment too, because when you get paid, you're celebrating with food. So it really wasn't until, I guess, late middle school and high school where I started to look at my health and well-being. I did see a nutritionist during those years when I was 13 and 14. I remember going to a doctor and with my mom, and he talked to me about food, and I think he talked about the food pyramid, and it was kind of scary because the doctor said, well, if you don't lose weight, you're gonna die. And that was pretty intense. I'm trying to think if that was his exact words, but the doctor did say he was very concerned about my weight because I was 13 years old and weighing about, I think, 200 pounds or a little bit more. So at that height that I was at that age, I believe I was like 5'5" or 5'6". I can't remember, but I was pretty tall for my age. I don't think I've grown much since. But it was kind of an awakening. So that's when my mom and I decided to do the weight loss program at a children's hospital in Chicago, at Laura Beta's Children's Hospital. So in that program, we did do 1,500 calories per day, 20 grams of fat per day. And our goal was to lose a pound a week or a half a pound to 1.5 pounds. You didn't really want to lose more than the 1.5 pounds because according to the dietitian and nutritionist that ran the program, that wasn't a healthy amount to lose to a healthy amount to have a sustainable weight loss. And the program was great. It was ran by Dr. Julie German. I believe she's a doctor. I'm not sure. She is a licensed nutritionist. I believe she has a PhD, so she is a doctor, but not a medical doctor. And I believe it was a success. I was able to lose weight if I stuck to the calories for the most part. Of course, like some days my mom and I would go out to eat, but then we would balance that out by, eating less calories the next day. So overall, it went pretty good. I was one of the top people in the program. They did a feature on me that was on the local news for my weight loss and how much of a success it was. And that was really awesome, like being congratulated on, my achievement in the program and being able to manage my weight. But throughout my high school career, I would say that was when I kind of got back into old habits. I started eating more emotionally and just consuming, more calories or not really caring. And even if we put calories aside, I think I just began eating not to fulfill my need for food. Like I wasn't eating because I was hungry and needed sustenance to get through the day. I was just eating because I wanted to eat. I did a little research on Dr. Julie German. So she wasn't a dietitian or nutritionist. She was a children's psychologist. So that goes back to what I was speaking about when it comes to the psychological nature of emotionally eating. I remember our weekly sessions in the program, we did talk about like how we felt that week and our emotions and how we felt before eating, how we felt afterwards. It was me and I believe 3 other children, and we were about the same age. And I remember one day we watched the movie Super Size Me, which is a film by Morgan Spurlock, and he eats nothing but McDonald's for 3 meals a day, and I think it's for a month, or maybe it's 2 or 3 months, I'm not sure. So seeing that film really scared me because before joining the Fit Matters program at the hospital. I did eat a lot of McDonald's. I remember as a kid when I was 10 or 11, I would get like 2 Happy Meals. I would drink a lot of sugary pop. I really loved getting the extra large pop and soda. So that was definitely my thing. I would always want to have 10 or 20 chicken nuggets. So seeing that movie really kind of put it in perspective. Of course, most people aren't consuming 3 meals a day at McDonald's, but there are people who do eat McDonald's maybe 3 to 5 days a week. So if you put that in perspective over a number of years, I'm guessing that maybe eating those particular types of food could lead to having certain health problems. And I believe after that film, if I'm not mistaken, McDonald's did change their ingredients for some of their foods. I think it was the chicken nuggets. So now those have like all white meat, because I remember them tasting differently at that time since I was still eating meat then. But I think that really, when it comes to balance with our food, we really need to focus on mindful eating and just eating with a purpose. Like today, like fast forward, 15, 16 years, it's even been a struggle these past few years. But I really find that since taking more of an interest in what I've been eating these past couple of years in particular, and then this past year becoming vegan, I think I've really thought about, before putting food in my mouth, how is it going to make me feel better? How is it going to give me energy? How is it going to affect me emotionally? How is it going to affect me mentally? Does eating this have any negative side effects? Will I get a sugar crash? Or will I feel bloated? Or will I feel tired and lethargic? So I do ask myself those questions before eating something. I think that asking ourselves, before we eat something, how will this nourish my body, is really important. And just instead of eating, not mindlessly, but more so instead of just eating and not focusing on it, eating while you're watching TV or eating while you're on your phone, it's important to eat mindfully and to think about each bite and enjoy the taste and flavors of the food and the richness and the textures, and enjoy the food going down your throat and into your stomach and alleviating that hunger feeling, because that is the purpose of eating, is to not have hunger and to then have energy to do something else. Because eating isn't an activity within itself. And I think in our culture and society, we have so many things, activities and events dedicated to eating. Like yesterday we had the Super Bowl, and the Super Bowl was a lot about, who's going to have the best hot wings, and what's the Super Bowl spread gonna be like, and what's the food gonna be like. And that's important, but I really just want to have energy so I can enjoy the game and watch the halftime show and enjoy the commercials. Like, that's why you're eating. The event itself isn't about eating per se, but it's about the activity that you're doing. I think that mentally, over these past couple years in particular, I've been able to focus on that need to eat and the reason why I'm doing it. And sometimes we do just eat because we're bored, or we just eat because a family member or loved one cooked for us, or we just eat because it's dinner time and it's time to eat. And instead of connecting these moments in our day with eating, we really should only connect eating with hunger and sustaining our bodies. And on the flip side of that, we live in a time where there is a lot of hunger insecurity, where there are a lot of children not getting enough food that they need, and there are a lot of people and adults that are going without the food they need. And that means that I am speaking from a place of privilege, because I'm able to overeat. I'm able to eat too much. So I think we also do connect the amount of food we're able to eat with how much personal wealth we have and how much access we have. And that's something else that we shouldn't do, because there are people who don't have the financial means to eat a proper diet. And one of the things that I really, really want, especially in the Black community in particular, is that I really think it's important that we're educated on different lifestyles and diets when it comes to eating, because we've all grown up with our recipes that we have, and we eat a lot of soul food, like mac and cheese and greens and lots of potatoes and lots of fried meats and starches. And it's okay to have those in moderation and in small amounts. But when it comes to our everyday lifestyle that we're eating, it's important that we educate ourselves on what's best and what's healthy and nourishing for our bodies. Also, in the Black community, we have what are called food deserts. So people don't have access to go to like a big grocery store, especially if they don't own a car or a vehicle. It's not really in walking distance, and it's not easy and accessible to them. So that's something else that we have to change. I love how over the past couple of years I've been to a lot of different farmers markets, and different Whole Foods and other grocery store chains have opened up. And I think just having that variety too of different brands and fruits and vegetables and proteins, just having that variety, just being able to go into the supermarket and see all these different things, that also puts a different perspective on our relationship with food. Looking forward, I would really like to become even more mindful, especially when it comes to the guilt or insecurities that I have with how my body looks. And I think that's something I personally need to work on, because since I did lose a lot of weight as a child, teenager, and then I gained it back and then lost it again, my body is not, I guess, the most aesthetically pleasing in my opinion. I do have some sagging skin. I do have a lot of stretch marks, and I've never had children or anything. It is something that I need to work on in building my own self-confidence in how I look and how I feel about my own body. I'm starting to learn that those stretch marks and those scars and the sagging skin, that's all not, what am I looking for? It's not a symptom, but a product. It shows like the different trials and tribulations that I've been through. And it's something to be proud of, to know that you're able to manage your weight and be healthier and to live a better lifestyle. And it all starts from within, because the numbers on the scale will change, and fluctuate as we age. Our metabolism goes down as we get older, and depending on different activities, we may gain muscle or lose muscle. So the scale is always changing, and it's just important to always keep the same mindset. As long as you're mindfully eating and you're nourishing your body, it doesn't really matter what the scales say. And I think it's so wonderful that now we live in a time where there's so much body positivity, because growing up there weren't any heavy or curvier actresses in general. In particular, there definitely weren't any curvier or heavier women of color actresses on television. But now you're able to see a wide variety of people being represented. And I think it's great, because instead of showing people as an ideal, like this is the ideal way you should look, I think it's important to show people at all different stages, because everything that we go through it ends up being a teaching moment for us. It's not like, okay, well, today I'm 200 pounds and it's a year later, now I'm 150 pounds, and that's great. But it's important to know what the 200-pound person went through and what their struggles were and how they ended up getting to that point. I think the journey is more important than the destination itself. And this concludes episode 4 of the Marble and Sand podcast. I hope you enjoyed hearing my weight management story and my trials and tribulations and triumphs. And please feel free to message me here on Anchor with your stories. I'd love to hear more about them. And I wish you well on your health and well-being journey.